All right, everybody. It's happened. The broiling what's the word for it? Sort of uneasiness, I guess we'll call it, between Ben Shapiro and Candace Owens. We've noticed it for a while. They've had some tiffs on Twitter, some spats, particularly over Israel, since Candace Owens is very much not pro-Israel, while Ben Shapiro is very pro-Israel. And the reason Candace Owens is not pro-Israel is because she's a Nazi. Like, well, probably not legitimately ideologically a Nazi in her heart. She is possibly the most provable grifter in all of right-wing history. If you don't believe me, there's actually a fantastic article that breaks down all of the receipts of Candace Owens' history. I figure I might as well show you. Let me show you this article. Every receipt proving Candace Owens is a con artist who is following the money. So if you go down this article, it's actually really it's live updated, so its most recent thing is now the yay stuff. But if we scroll all the way down to the bottom and we start at the beginning of her grift, she started off grifting as a progressive. That's the funny thing. Social autopsy. This is her first big thing that blew up. In the spring of 2016, Candace Owens launched an anti-cyberbullying website called Social Autopsy. She reportedly started a Kickstarter campaign to raise $75,000. She sure likes money she doesn't have to work for. CTPost.com describes the site as a searchable database of offensive speech found on social media. Owens wanted to expose people who anonymously harassed others online, which is known as doxing, and is a huge no-no among conservatives. She claimed she got pushback from the left, which was allegedly one of the sparks that lit her conservative fire. This is a complete lie as well, by the way. At the time, Social Autopsy was unanimously dunked on by the Gamergate community, realizing that, like, she was not going to have a successful grift as, like, a progressive. She immediately jumped ship for the conservative grift, and from that point, started pushing right-wing politics. But before that, she did a lawsuit where she sued her school for racial discrimination. Before that, she scammed her landlord after leaving her place a fucking pigsty, claiming that the landlord doesn't deserve her money because it's not a real job. Literally, before she was doing the right-wing grift, she was doing everything in her power to grift money out of people, but from the left, and using left-wing justification. So, literally one of the most ongoing grifters of all time, like very provably a grifter, way before even getting into the right-wing stuff, back when she was supposedly a progressive. However, all of this is boiled over, and she has been fired from the Daily Wire. And her response has been to say, essentially, that she is finally free. I don't know about that. The Daily Wire was paying her a lot of money. And I feel like she's known this was coming for a while because she's been desperately appearing on every podcast, debate show. Like, she debated Destiny, went on the Whatever podcast. I believe she also went on the Fresh and Fit podcast. We covered that recently. I thought it was weird how often she has been appearing on these, like, comparatively much lesser programs. And I think it's because she saw this coming and knew, oh shit, I'm going to be an independent figure again soon. I need to start getting my name out there, like, for real, and prepare to be an independent creator. Because now, she does not have that Daily Wire money flowing in. This is a rising segment about the whole ordeal.
Candace Owens and conservative website The Daily Wire have officially broken up. Friday morning, The Daily Wire CEO Jeremy Boring posted on X, quote,
"It will never not be perfect that his last name is Boring."
Daily Wire and Candace Owens have ended their relationship. He did not give a reason on the circumstances that led to this shift, but earlier this week
This might have been a meme edit. Did Candace Owens, or did she not, tweet dunking on Ben, referencing the fact that he can't make his wife wet? I saw a tweet screenshot that very easily could have been inspect elemented and not real. but it was like Candace Owens saying something like, I don't even know what, but it involved like saying Ben can't get his wife wet. It feels like something she wouldn't say because she kind of tries to keep up this faux like respectability politics, but I also feel like she could. Here, one sec, chat. My weed vape died, so it's time to pull out a new one. It's real in our hearts. If that's real, I need a source for it. You guys will have to check for me.
Anti-Defamation League highlighted the fact that white supremacist Nick Fuentes applauded Owens' rhetoric on Jews. Owens has been outspoken in her commentary about Jewish people in politics, in the media, and her support for Palestine.
Regardless, based on her latest episode posted just yesterday, the news may have come as a...
They say, whoever controls the spice controls Ben Shapiro's wife's vagina.
surprise to Owens. Take a look.
I'm not going to go away. I'm going to use my God-given voice to talk about the things that are important for me. I'm just asking to be left alone, or at least just report the truth.
The joke is that Ben Shapiro's wife's pussy is like the desert planet of Arrakis from Dune.
Ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, that is all the time that we have for today. But don't worry, because we will see you tomorrow for a brand new episode.
The controversial right-wing commentator took to her own X account, posting, quote, "The rumors are true. I'm finally free," end quote. There will be many additional quote, there will be many announcements in the weeks to come. Owens joined the Daily Wire back in 2021. So a little bit unclear about what's next for Owens here. Very obvious. She's
a lot of media appearances wherever she can get them is what's next for her. She's already been preempting this. I was wondering why she's been appearing on so many random things. Like she debated Destiny, she went on the Whatever podcast, and also like Fresh and Fit. Like she's going on all these podcasts and talking to so many people, and I thought maybe this is just her new thing that she's doing. But clearly, she's known this was coming for a while now, like at least a few weeks, and has been preparing by getting herself in front of as many new audiences as she possibly can, because she knows she's going to have to go fully independent, and she's going to lose out on the income provided by Daily Wire, which was no doubt a substantial amount of her income.
Not with the Daily Wire anymore, and that whether it was a firing or they had a conversation this morning that ended in them deciding to end their relationship, all of the language makes it sound like they broke up and that it was a romantic relationship. They're going their separate ways, though. I was just saying yesterday to a friend that it might be the case that Ben Shapiro's keeping Candace Owens at the Daily Wire despite his pro-Israel views, to show that even though there was reporting that was pro-Israel, hey, we had this other host at the Daily Wire that was saying something else. It seems that that's not a strategy at all at the Daily Wire.
They held on to her for as long as they could, but the Daily Wire is an explicitly pro-Israel, like, outlet. So the fact that, like, Candace Owens, very much, like, Nazi-appealing strategy, because Candace Owens' whole thing was that she's not a moderate conservative. She is a full-on white nationalist. A full-on open white nationalist. And most conservatives who are white, like usually white men, dog whistle and try to sort of avoid saying the quiet part out loud, because, like, when they're a white guy who would just be being openly racist, and there's really no ambiguity there. They can't really argue their way out of that. Conservative, like POC, love weaponizing, not even weaponizing, but utilizing their identity and id pull to defend themselves against valid criticism. So Candace Owens, instead of using dog whistles or keeping the mask on, Candace Owens just outright states white nationalist propaganda and just allows her skin color to do the rest. She doesn't even attempt to defend herself, and most of her fans don't even try to defend her on, like, an argumentative basis. They just engage in id pull. In fact, Candace Owens famously will just get offended at and accuse of racism any white progressive who criticizes her. She'll pick apart, like, what a white progressive has said to try to, like, racialize any criticism that was made towards her to try to use like id poll against them, which is literally exactly what she accuses the left of doing. Does it seem like a lot of the right-wing media is moving to soften their image of late? No, it really doesn't, actually. It feels more like they're more confident than ever on every front, particularly when it comes to like the Gamergate 2 stuff and Twitter being in Elon's control, where they feel like they've got no consequences for being masked off. It's less so that the right is trying to soften their image, as more so they're being more open about what they are than ever, because they see no real tangible pushback.
And who knows if it was their choice or Candace's choice, but curious to see what she does next.
Yeah, I mean, based on the fact that she said, see you tomorrow, that definitely suggests that the Daily Wire pulled the trigger and fired her. I think, people who have been following some of the internal feuding at the Daily Wire probably are not super surprised by this. It's definitely the case that Ben Shapiro was...
This wasn't out of nowhere. To be clear, we've covered this sort of... We've literally covered the arguments that have broken out between Ben and Candace on this stream before. This has been in the making for like a year. They have not been getting along since the October 7th attack.
Very troubled by her views on the Israel-Palestine conflict. He is obviously one of the most pro-Israel voices in conservative media, and they've had public tension around what she's been saying on her show. There was one point a few months ago where I believe she was trying to get Ben Shapiro to convert to Christianity or something along those lines, and there was this huge argument over whether what she said was considered anti-Semitic, and really just things started to unravel from there. But I think Candace Owens is going to be fine. It looks like she has her own website that she's encouraging people.
Dude, the hilarious thing is, Candace Owens, if she was like exactly the same but progressive, like if she kept up the like left-wing grift beyond 2016 to this day, could you imagine how much of a lolcow she would be? How often the like photos of her looking angry, like instead of this being framed as her by her fans and by her media team as like her being powerful and based here, like lecturing a lefty, these would be the images used to depict her as triggered in thumbnails for people's videos. Be like, triggered SJW Candace Owens. Like, it's really hilarious when a conservative figure has a face that would absolutely be memed by the right if they were progressive. But because they're right-wing, they completely skirt by having the most soy-jackable face of all time.
Looks like she has her own website that she's encouraging people to go to now. I wouldn't be surprised if she tries to do a show on X, similar to what Tucker and Chris Cuomo are doing and Don Lemon attempted to do, and just go directly to the viewers. She is one of those sort of names that can definitely draw an audience on her own without the institutional backing. But it seems like it's going to come with probably a pretty significant pay cut. Based on the reporting from when she was hired, she was getting a pretty hefty salary from the Daily Wire, and she'll have to make up for that with subscriptions if that's the route that she decides to go and decides to be independent. But again, I'm not surprised by this at all. It seemed like this was brewing for quite some time.
Yep.
It's very sad.
This is really where it's been heading for a while, and the fact that Candace Owens is not really all that upset about it, I'm sure she's kind of coping a bit and pretending not to be upset about it to some degree, but I also don't think she's that bent out of shape over it, because she got about as much as you could hope to get from the Daily Wire as far as like an internet presence, and now she is able to sort of go independent and do her own thing. If she's smart, she can set herself up for life and never have to worry about working again by the time she falls off. It's probably not the biggest deal for her. Is she literally, like, I don't think she's serious when she says she's finally free. I don't think Daily Wire was controlling her all that much. I think it was more so like her and Ben just couldn't get along and they had a falling out. Believe it or not, the right is not immune to schisming the way the left tends to.